Merhaba. In this lesson, you'll embark on a new territory in Turkish. You'll start using verbs. In other words, you'll be able to express action in present continuous tense. You'll be able to say, I'm studying Turkish, we're going to Turkey, we're not living in Ankara, sentences like that. We'll also learn to talk about interests and with specific verbs. We'll come to that later. Express likes and dislikes and what we are doing and not doing. This means you'll be able to engage in short, casual conversations. Okay? But before we start, let me say one important thing about verbs in Turkish. Let me introduce a few verbs first so that you see in infinitive form. Çalışmak, which means to work. Gelmek, to come. Gitmek, to go. Okumak, to read. Yazmak, to write. Yapmak, to do. So you probably see as I gave you these first examples of verbs, they all end with mek or mak. According to vowel harmony, it changes mek or mak. That's the infinitive suffix attached to the verb stems. And when we put the verbs into a tense, like we'll do today with the present continuous tense, the mek mak will drop. But you should know that there is this infinitive suffix when the verbs are in the infinitive form. Okay? So let's talk about how to put these verbs into present continuous tense. As you can imagine, there is a specific suffix for present continuous tense, and that is yor. Okay? And let's see what happens to the verb as we add that suffix. Okumak, to read, right? So we get rid of mak, drop it. Oku is the stem. So we add yor to it. Okuyor. And then this means he or she reads in the third person because there's no vert suffix in third person. So okuyor means he or she reads. Okay? Gelmek, to come. Drop the mek infinitive suffix, gel is the stem, and add yor. Because this stem ends with a consonant, we will have the ı buffer, geliyor. Okay? He's coming or she's coming. So there's one thing to remember. It's a rule actually. If the verb stem ends with t, like gitmek, it becomes de as we attach the present continuous suffix. Gitmek, gidiyor. Okay? Etmek, it's usually used with the compound verbs like dans etmek. Ediyor. Okay? Finally, in spoken Turkish, we tend to say gidiyor, geliyor. We kind of drop the last re in the word. Okuyor, geliyor. It's just probably fast speaking that drops. So if you know it, you're not going to be surprised when you hear. Before I talk about the personal suffixes that should be added to these, I will make a few sentences so that you see how the sentence is formed in present continuous tense. And I'll start with a question. Ali ne yapıyor? What does Ali do or doing at this point? Ali okuyor. Ali is reading. Ali ne okuyor? What does Ali read or what is he reading? Ali kitap okuyor. Ali is reading a book. Okay? So you see in these simple sentences, there is a word order. It starts with the subject, ends with the verb. Okay, so this is going to be the story of your Turkish adventure, because in most of the cases, the Turkish sentences ends with verbs. In other words, unlike English, right? Because in English, you say, I am reading a book. Subject and verb comes first, and the rest of the sentence follows. And usually, I mean, you hear the most important part of the sentence in the beginning. You have the most important information about it in the beginning. But then, and the rest of it comes. And in Turkish, though, you need to listen to the end to get the most important part, the verb, right? So that's going to be probably surprising, or you'll need to get used to it. Okay, so let's talk about the other persons. For instance, the first person. Okumak, okuyor, we said. He reads, or he's reading, or she's reading. Okuyorum. Ben okuyorum. Sen okuyorsun. O okuyor. Biz okuyoruz. Siz okuyorsunuz. Onlar okuyorlar. So you see, the person suffixes used in the present continuous are none other than the verb to be person suffixes, such as iyiyim, hastasın, right? It's very similar. And also you see from these examples, and it's going to be the case for other examples, the present continuous your, the suffix your, never changes. It doesn't alternate. Okay? Nothing happens to it, no vowel harmony, no consonant alter, nothing like that. Your is your. It's never going to change. So hopefully this is refreshing for you. In question, in the present continuous tense, as in the case of the verb to be that we learned, it takes the question particle preceding the personal suffix. Let me show you. Gidiyor muyum? Gidiyor muyum? Gidiyor musun? Gidiyor mu? Gidiyor muyuz? Gidiyor musunuz? Gidiyorlar mı? Now the negative. You form the negative stem of the verb by adding to it the negative suffix me. So you'll get used to this me in tenses. But for present continuous tense, it becomes me. I'll show you why. So okumak, okumamak is the negative. Gitmek, gitmemek. When we put this negative infinitive in present continuous, it becomes okumuyor instead of okumıyor. So because it's almost impossible to pronounce, right? So in this case, drops your, stays okumuyor. Gitmiyor. Bilmiyor. All right, you know what you need to do right now. You need to pick at least 2 verbs, preferably one with ending vowels, or the other one consonant, conjugate in these forms. And I'm sure you're going to feel more comfortable about it, and then we can practice in class. Bring your questions to the class as always. Kolay gelsin. Derste görüşürüz.